Come on, old man, show us what you got! The words cut through the dojo like a blade. Laughter followed, sharp, cruel, echoing off the walls where respect was supposed to live. At the center of it all stood Sensei Brandon Cross, proud, confident, untouchable, and across from him, a man holding nothing but a broom. Andre Bishop, the janitor, the man they all ignored. But what no one in that room knew was that the floor he cleaned every night had once been his battlefield, and the lesson their sensei was about to learn would stay with him for the rest of his life. Because sometimes, the man you mock in front of your students is the same one who'll teach you what strength really means. If you believe true strength isn't about power, but about character, tap like and hit subscribe. Because what you're about to see isn't just a sparring match. It's a lesson in humility taught by the one man everyone underestimated. Come on, old man, show us what you've got. The shout cracked through the dojo like a whip. Every student froze mid-stretch. At the center of the mat stood Sensei Brandon Cross, black belt tied tight, eyes gleaming with amusement. Across from him, broom still in hand, was the man nobody ever paid attention to. Andre Bishop, the janitor, the one everyone ignored. The air felt charged, thick with disbelief. Someone whispered, "He's not really going to make the janitor fight, right?" But Cross just smirked. "Don't worry," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'll go easy on him." A ripple of laughter rolled through the room, the kind that cuts deeper than insults ever could. Andre didn't say a word. He just looked down, calm, his hand tightening around the broom handle. Not in anger, but control. The kind that comes from years of discipline. Lena Ruiz, standing near the back, felt a chill crawl up her neck. She'd seen the sensei mock people before, cocky students, overconfident challengers. But this was different. This was humiliation dressed as humor. Sensei Cross took a step closer, pointing at Andre's chest. "You've been cleaning this place for months. Watching real fighters work. Ever wonder what it's like to actually be one?" Andre looked up slowly, eyes steady. "No, sir," he said. "I already know." The laughter paused, confused, uncertain. Cross raised an eyebrow. "Oh, you know? From what? Sweeping up after us?" Andre's gaze didn't waver. "From before that." The room went silent. Even the hum of the air conditioner seemed to fade. Cross grinned, mistaking calm for fear. "You saying you used to fight?" Andre nodded once. "A long time ago." The sensei chuckled, tossing his towel aside. "Perfect. Let's have a little fun then. A friendly spar." "Sensei, come on," Lena said quietly. "He's just doing his job." Cross shot her a look that made her shrink back. "It's called discipline, Lena." "He'll be fine." The students murmured, half excited, half uncomfortable. Someone muttered, "This is messed up." But Andre just set the broom gently against the wall. "If this is what you want," he said softly, "then I'll do my best not to embarrass you." That line hit harder than anyone expected. The room went still. Cross's smile faltered, just for a second. Then came the smirk. "Oh, this is going to be good." He clapped his hands, motioning to one of his students. "Get him a GI. Let's see what our janitor can do." Minutes later, the crowd circled the mat. Phones were out. Andre stood across from the sensei, dressed in a plain white uniform that didn't quite fit. He looked out of place, older, leaner, no belt around his waist. But there was something strange about the way he stood. His posture was perfect, shoulders loose, breathing even, feet anchored like he'd been standing on a mat all his life. Sensei Cross cracked his knuckles, grinning for the crowd. Don't take it personal, old man. Just showing the students a lesson. Andre's voice was calm. Make sure it's the right one. That made a few students snicker, but not Lena. She couldn't take her eyes off Andre's stillness. He wasn't nervous. He was ready. Cross bowed dramatically, then lunged forward with a lightning jab. Andre didn't flinch. He leaned back, and the punch sliced through empty air. Cross blinked. Lucky shot. He came again, faster this time. 2 punches and a low sweep. Andre stepped aside, not with panic, but with grace. His movements were precise, effortless, quiet. The students' laughter faded. Cross straightened, irritation flashing across his face. All right, he muttered. Let's turn it up. He launched a high kick, fast, controlled, deadly. But just as his leg cut through the air, Andre moved. One small pivot, a subtle shift, and the sensei's foot missed by inches. The room went dead silent. Andre hadn't even countered. He just looked at him. Calm. Composed. Stop playing around, Cross barked, trying to laugh off the awkwardness. Hit me back. Andre shook his head. No, sir. You're teaching a class. Lena's lips parted. That tone, respectful, controlled, was the kind of confidence you couldn't fake. Cross exhaled sharply, pride twisting into anger. Then let's teach them something real, he said, settling into a full stance. He charged. Andre's eyes flicked open wider, sharp as a blade. He moved, not fast but right, each motion precise, economical, unhurried. His arm brushed aside Cross's strike like it was nothing. There was no sound except the shuffle of feet and the heartbeat in everyone's ears. Cross stumbled, caught himself, glaring. What are you? He whispered. Andre's answer was soft. Just the janitor. And for the first time, Sensei Brandon Cross, the man who mocked, the man who strutted, didn't know what to say. He only knew one thing. He'd just made a mistake. Nobody in the dojo moved. The sound of the ceiling fan buzzed softly above the mat, slicing through silence thick enough to taste. Sensei Brandon Cross stared across at the man he'd mocked minutes ago, the janitor who still hadn't thrown a single punch. Andre Bishop stood motionless, hands relaxed at his sides, posture calm as if he were meditating in the middle of chaos. Cross's jaw flexed. You think this is funny? Andre didn't answer. You trying to embarrass me in front of my students? Cross snapped, pacing. You won't even fight back? Andre's voice came out level, almost gentle. You said this was a lesson, Sensei. I'm letting you teach. The students exchanged uneasy glances. The air felt charged, like a storm waiting to break. Cross clenched his fists. Fine, he said under his breath. Lesson starts now. He launched forward, full speed, no mercy. His first strike cracked through the air with a snap. Andre shifted, not back, but sideways, guiding the blow past him with a soft brush of his hand. It looked effortless, too effortless. Cross twisted, throwing a back fist, blocked. A knee, evaded. He tried again, grunting with each motion, but Andre's defense flowed like water. Every attack died before it landed. The room began to stir with murmurs. Is he dodging him? No way. Cross is going all in. Then why can't he hit him? Lena Ruiz's eyes widened. She'd seen Cross dominate every student here. But this wasn't dominance. It was desperation. Cross growled and spun, his heel cutting through the air. A spinning roundhouse meant to end it. Andre leaned forward just an inch, and the kick missed by centimeters. He moved so naturally it looked rehearsed. His breathing never changed. Then, for the first time, Andre moved forward. 1 step, 2. His hand rose, slow but deliberate, and tapped Cross's shoulder. Just a touch, light as air. Cross blinked. What was that supposed to be? Andre looked him in the eye. First warning. The students went silent. Cross's smirk vanished. He came again, this time angrier, faster, wild. His punches blurred, the air snapped. Andre's movements sharpened. Not flashy, not loud, just precise. Each parry redirected power, each sidestep repositioned him perfectly. Then came the moment no one expected. Cross threw a punch. Andre caught his wrist. In one motion, smooth, invisible, he pivoted, and Cross hit the mat. Hard. The slap of impact echoed like thunder. Gasps filled the dojo. A few students stepped back. One muttered, "No way! Did he just—" Cross scrambled to his feet, face flushed red, chest heaving. He looked at Andre like he was seeing him for the first time. Andre stood still, expression calm. "You said it was a spar, Sensei." I'm still holding back. That line hit like a gut punch. Lena's phone trembled in her hand. She hadn't meant to record, but her instincts had taken over. She hit record anyway. Cross's pride boiled. "You think you're better than me?" Andre shook his head. "I don't think about better. Only balance." That tone, soft, unwavering, somehow carried more authority than Cross's shouting ever had. The students were no longer laughing. No one dared speak. All eyes followed the janitor who had somehow turned the dojo into his classroom. Cross came again, faster, harder. He used every trick he knew, mixing fake strikes with real ones, testing Andre's limits. But every movement ended the same. Andre moved once, then stood still again. Calm. Waiting. Watching. Lena whispered, "He's reading him, every move before it happens." Cross's frustration broke into a roar. "Fight me!" He lunged, wild, emotional, reckless. Andre sidestepped, guided his arm past, and with a single controlled strike, a palm to the chest, he sent Cross stumbling backward, breathless. Cross fell to one knee. Silence. Andre lowered his hands, bowing respectfully. "That's enough." But Cross wasn't finished. He forced himself up, trembling, pride bleeding through the cracks of his composure. "No, we're not done." He charged again, one last desperate swing. Andre moved in a flash. Not violent, not showy, just pure control. He caught Cross's arm, twisted, and stopped just short of breaking it. The sound of Cross gasping filled the room. Andre's voice was calm, almost sad. Strength without humility is just chaos. He released him. Cross staggered back, eyes wide, clutching his arm. Andre stepped away, bowed once more, and picked up his broom from the corner. The room still hadn't breathed. "Class dismissed," he said quietly. Nobody laughed this time. As Andre walked toward the exit, Lena turned her phone around and whispered to herself, "The janitor just destroyed a black belt." And somewhere behind her, a student muttered what everyone else was thinking. "Who is that guy?" The dojo was supposed to be silent after class, just the echo of bare feet and the hum of fluorescent lights. But that afternoon, whispers filled the air like smoke. "He took Sensei down, with one hand. He barely even moved." Every student had a version of what happened, and by the time Sensei Brandon Cross returned from the locker room, Their nervous chatter fell quiet. His GI jacket was half unbuttoned, his face still red from where he'd hit the mat. The room went still when he entered. Not from respect, but confusion. No one had ever seen him shaken before. He walked across the floor, each step sharp, deliberate. His eyes found Lena, who quickly tucked her phone away. "Miss Ruiz," he said, voice tight, "erase that video." Lena hesitated. I didn't mean to record, Sensei. I said delete it." The tone cracked like a whip. She nodded quickly, pretending to tap delete, though the file was already backed up to the cloud. Cross turned toward the corner where the broom still rested. Andre Bishop was there, kneeling beside a mop bucket, quietly finishing his cleaning as if nothing had happened. Cross's jaw flexed. "You enjoy making a fool out of me in front of my students?" Andre didn't look up. "Didn't mean to make anyone a fool, Sensei." "Then what was that?" Cross demanded, stepping closer. "Some trick? You think because you threw me once, you're my equal?" Andre stood slowly, setting the mop aside. "You said it was a spar. I only gave what you asked for." Lena's gaze flicked between them, tension winding tighter with every second. Cross's voice rose. "You embarrassed me in my own dojo." Andre's tone didn't change. "No, Sensei. Your pride did that." The words hit like a silent strike. Even the students who tried not to react couldn't hide the flicker in their eyes. Cross took another step forward. "Who are you, really?" If you're still watching right now, you already feel the change of energy in the room. Hit like and subscribe if you believe respect isn't earned by shouting louder, but by staying calm when the world tests your peace. Andre met his stare. Calm, unflinching. Nobody special, just someone who used to teach before learning what real humility meant. That answer didn't satisfy him. It made him angrier. "Teach?" "Where?" Cross snapped. Andre hesitated, then sighed softly. "Eastview Academy. Long time ago." Lena's eyes widened. "Wait, Eastview? That's one of the oldest martial arts schools in the country." Cross frowned. "You expect me to believe that?" Andre gave a small shrug. "Believe what you want. I didn't come here for recognition." Lena stepped forward now, curiosity outweighing her nerves. "You trained under Master Hideo, didn't you?" Andre looked at her, and for the first time, a faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "You know your history." Cross blinked, thrown off. "You trained under Hideo Tanaka? The founder of the Eastview method?" Andre simply nodded. "He taught me everything I forgot." The room went completely still. Even the air seemed to hesitate. Lena whispered, "That's impossible." Master Hideo only taught a handful of direct students, and that was decades ago. Andre picked up his bucket, calm as ever. "That's right." Cross's mind raced. The name wasn't just legendary, it was sacred. Every martial artist in the region traced their lineage back to that man. "You're telling me you're one of his students?" Andre turned, eyes steady. "One of the last." The weight of that line sank deep. Cross's face shifted, disbelief twisting into something more complex. Doubt, shame, realization. Lena spoke softly, almost to herself. "No wonder you moved like that." Andre looked at her. "Technique means nothing without discipline. Most forget that." Cross swallowed, his confidence cracking at the edges. "Why would someone like you be working here? Cleaning floors?" Andre gave a small laugh. Not cruel, just quiet. Because it keeps me grounded. Because every floor needs someone willing to keep it clean. That answer burned through the silence. Cross didn't know what to say. His arrogance had built this dojo, but in that moment it felt hollow, a place full of mirrors showing him only himself. Andre set the mop back in its corner, his movements deliberate, almost ceremonial. I didn't come here to prove anything, Sensei. I came here to earn a paycheck. What happened on that mat? That was your lesson, not mine. He started toward the exit. But Cross spoke, voice low now. Wait. Andre paused, half turned. Cross took a slow breath. You said you used to teach. Why stop? Andre's eyes softened with memory. Because sometimes the people who need lessons the most don't listen until life humbles them. Then he left. The sound of the door closing echoed through the dojo, like the last note of a song no one wanted to end. Lena stood there, eyes still fixed on the door. She whispered, Sensei, he just gave you the lesson. Cross didn't answer. He just stared at the empty space where Andre had stood, his reflection staring back from the mirrored wall, a man who suddenly wasn't sure who the real master had been all along. Outside, Andre walked into the fading sunlight, the evening wind brushing against his uniform. He looked back once at the dojo sign, Cross Martial Arts Academy, and smiled faintly. Still learning, he murmured. Then he disappeared down the street, leaving behind a dojo that would never see him the same way again. Rain drummed softly on the dojo roof. The lights were dim, the mats still drying from the afternoon class. Sensei Brandon Cross sat alone at the center, knees folded, eyes shut, but his mind refused to be still. Andre Bishop's words had been echoing in his head for days. That was your lesson, not mine. For years, Brandon had built his reputation on dominance, on being untouchable. But after one effortless throw, his image had cracked. His students looked at him differently now, not with awe, but with quiet doubt. He couldn't live with that. So he made a call. When the dojo door opened later that week, it wasn't a student who entered. It was Andre Bishop, still in his work jacket, hands in his pockets, expression calm as ever. You said you wanted to talk, Andre said. Brandon stood, bowing slightly. Not the deep ceremonial bow of a match, just enough to show humility. I need to understand what you did, he said. Not to prove anything. To learn. Andre studied him for a moment, then nodded once. Put on your GI. Minutes later, both men stood barefoot on the mat. No crowd this time, no phones, just the soft sound of rain and breath. Andre raised his hand. We don't fight today. We move. No ego. No anger. Brandon nodded. They circled, slow, fluid. Andre's movements were quiet but alive, his weight shifting like water. Brandon mirrored him, cautious, focused. When their hands met, there was no clash, just connection. Andre redirected him effortlessly, showing him balance, rhythm, patience. Brandon's frustration melted into awe. It's like you're not even fighting. Andre's voice was low. Because I'm not. Real mastery isn't control over others. It's control over yourself. He guided Brandon through another sequence, a subtle sweep that ended with Brandon off balance, then safely steadied. Feel that? Andre said. You don't win by force. You win by understanding. Brandon exhaled slowly. The lesson cut deeper than any blow. After a long silence, he said quietly, I taught these students strength, But I never taught them humility. Andre gave a faint smile. Then start now. They bowed. This time it was mutual, genuine. No pride, no shame, just respect. When the door opened again, Lena Ruiz stood watching. Her eyes widened at the sight, her sensei bowing deeply to the man who used to mop their floors. Brandon looked at her, voice steady. Lena, this man is my new instructor. Andre shook his head lightly. No, Sensei Cross. I'm just a janitor who remembers what the mat used to mean. But the truth hung unspoken between them. He had become the spirit the dojo had lost. As Andre turned to leave, Brandon called out, You'll come back tomorrow? Andre paused at the door. If the floors need cleaning. Lena smiled. For the first time, the dojo didn't feel like a place of competition. It felt like a place of growth. And somewhere in the quiet rhythm of dripping rain, a new kind of respect was born. Not from status or belts, but from understanding what strength truly means. Weeks drifted by, and the dojo began to change, not in its walls or its trophies, but in its spirit. Where once there had been tension, there was now quiet focus. Where pride once echoed, there was now respect. Sensei Brandon Cross had become a different kind of teacher. His voice, once sharp and commanding, now carried patience, the same calm rhythm Andre Bishop had shown him. Every bow meant something. Every lesson carried weight beyond movement or strength. Students noticed it. They whispered about it between stretches and drills. He's different now. Yeah, he listens more. It's like he's actually teaching, not performing. And every evening, when the last of them had left, the same figure would appear at the door, pushing a mop bucket, shoulders relaxed, expression quiet and kind. Andre Bishop. He'd sweep the floors like always, slow, steady, intentional. The rhythm of the broom against the mats became part of the dojo's sound, soft, grounding, constant. Some nights Cross would linger in silence, just watching him work. Other nights, he'd step forward to talk. Do you ever miss teaching? He asked one evening, breaking the steady hum of the mop. Andre looked up. Sometimes. But teaching doesn't really stop, does it? Cross frowned thoughtfully. You mean the students? Andre smiled faintly. No, I mean the people we meet, the mistakes we make. Every day's a lesson if you're humble enough to learn from it. That line hit him harder than any strike. Cross turned toward the mat, the same mat where he'd fallen, humiliated weeks earlier. He could still feel the sting of that day. But now it no longer burned. It humbled him. I taught strength, Cross said quietly, but I never taught humility. Andre rested his hands on the mop handle. Then maybe that's your next belt. Cross laughed softly. Guess I've got a lot to learn. Andre's tone was calm, almost playful. Good. A real teacher never stops being a student. The two men stood in silence for a moment, the kind that didn't feel empty, but full. Outside, the rain started again. It always seemed to follow their lessons, steady, cleansing, rhythmic. Andre set the mop aside. Come on, Sensei. Let's move a little. Cross looked over. You want to spar again? Andre smiled. Not spar. Learn. They bowed, not as rivals but equals, and began to move. No cameras, no crowd, just two men rediscovering what martial arts was truly about. Andre's steps were fluid, measured. Cross matched him, trying to follow the flow rather than resist it. Their movements were quiet, not the crash of power, but the whisper of understanding. At one point, Andre guided him off balance and caught him before he could fall. Cross breathed out a short laugh. "Still teaching me balance?" Andre nodded. "On and off the mat." When they finished, both bowed again, not out of tradition, but out of gratitude. Lena Ruiz stood quietly by the door, watching the two figures in the soft light. She'd stayed behind after class, curious, drawn to the quiet power of the moment. Her sensei bowed deeply to the janitor, the same man everyone had once ignored. And she realized then, Andre Bishop hadn't just changed Brandon Cross, he'd changed the entire spirit of the dojo. Cross turned and noticed her standing there. He gave a small smile. "Lena," he said, voice steady, calm. "This man isn't just a janitor. He's my teacher now." Andre shook his head lightly. "No, Sensei Cross. I'm just someone who remembers what the mat used to mean, but the truth lingered between them. He was both janitor and master, and neither title defined him." Weeks later, the dojo held a small ceremony, not for belts or rankings, but for reflection. Cross gathered his students and unveiled a new banner across the main wall. The letters gleamed in soft gold against deep navy. "True strength begins with humility." No one said who wrote it, but everyone knew whose lesson it carried. Lena's eyes glistened as she looked at it. In the corner of the room, the mop stood upright, silent, ordinary, yet symbolic. She whispered softly, "Thank you, Mr. Bishop." Outside, the rain had stopped. The sunset broke through the clouds, streaking gold light across the mats. Andre didn't return that night, or the night after. But his absence didn't feel like loss. It felt like legacy. His spirit lived in every bow, every word of respect, every humble motion of the students who now trained with more purpose than pride. Brandon Cross often found himself looking toward the door, half expecting to see that familiar mop bucket rolling in. But even when it didn't, he could still feel the man's presence, quiet, guiding, steady. One night, after the last class, Cross bowed toward the empty mat. "Thank you, Andre," he said softly, "for teaching me what I should have known all along." And somewhere beyond the walls, under the glow of the streetlight, Andre Bishop walked home, shoulders relaxed, steps calm, the night breeze carrying the faint scent of rain. He smiled to himself, because he knew the dojo didn't need him anymore. The lesson had already taken root, and in the heart of every student who trained beneath that new banner, the janitor's wisdom lived on. If stories like this remind you that dignity has nothing to do with titles, uniforms, or class, hit like and subscribe, so you never miss the next story where quiet strength turns judgment into regret, and respect finds its way home.